Go for it.
Hello, Larry. This is Kathy Long. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Hi
I
there. Good to be with you.
Thank you. I want to have the opportunity to be able to go over a presentation that you and I are very interested in helping others to be able to make their money work as hard as they do. I know that that's something that both you and I are very passionate about getting money that's not doing very well for investors, working in the right direction for them. So,
Exactly. People have to get their money out there working for them, just like their own little force of employees.
right. So when I started doing up this presentation for today's webinar, it is going to be entitled "Making Your Money Work as Hard as You Do." And what I stopped to think about it, if you had a retail store, you wouldn't be having somebody like this lady that's sitting in this picture right now with daydreaming and listening to music with um, work piling up. So why would you let your investment dollars sit idly by as well? That just does not seem to make a lot of sense for me. So we're going to be going into a couple of ideas of where we can get your money that's sitting in RSPs or cash that's just sitting around, that's perhaps doing the same thing that this lady in the picture is doing. And let's get your money and your investment dollars working for you.
Exactly. Think of your dollars as little employees, and every morning you send them out to work. You want to make sure that they do a full day's work for you and bring you back a decent return.
Right, absolutely. So we're looking forward, and that money that you've got saved for your investment dollars, perhaps you're thinking of getting that money working for your retirement or to have the time in your life right now. Say if you've got elderly parents or have a young family, this will give you the opportunity when you have your money working for you to be able to enjoy that time with them, and also in the future to be able to set yourself up so that you will have more time to be able to spend the things that you want to do. Or perhaps if you want to get that money working for you right now, it's the life that you're intended to be living, to be able to go out on that holiday every year, or to be able to buy that special car. It'll help get your investment money working for you faster so that you can start truly enjoying life.
Exactly. And the whole point of this is, have your money work for you so you don't have to work.
Absolutely. And that's the way it should be working. So, Larry, I just wanted to take a minute so that we can introduce ourselves to everybody on the webinar this afternoon. There's a couple of things about me up on the slide right now. But when I started investing, I had just actually that decision was made for me is when back in November in 2002 the RCMP came to the time that we were living at the acreage, and they caused my husband to be taken out of the house. So all of a sudden he was charged with assault. I was left with running a business, bringing up three boys. Everything in my world changed within that one day. So after the some time when the divorce went through, and everything was pretty much settled, I had to decide that I needed to make my money work for me. There wasn't a lot of money in the pension for me. I knew that I wanted to live a better life for me and my boys than what I was living at that time. So I looked towards real estate to be able to give me that leg up, to be able to give me that dream, that financial stability that I know that I wanted for me and my boys. So that's where I started investing in real estate. And real estate for me has been a really good avenue to be able to live a much better life than I ever have before. And I know that real estate has also done a lot of great things for you as well, Larry. Do you want to tell us a couple of things about you right now?
Yeah, well, I love real estate. It's one of my big passions. And just to introduce myself, my name is Larry Akuchek. I'm the founder of the private companies within the Buckreau Business Group. I currently have 6 university degrees. I've got over 30 years of real estate investing experience and property management experience, over 15 years stock market and derivatives trading experience. I've been financially free for the last 10 years. My proprietary investing strategies allow my investors to achieve significant returns consistently, regardless of the current market conditions. I see it as my mission to help other small business owners and other small investors to become financially free by helping them out through their education and their investments. And if anybody wants to talk on me with one-on-one at any time, just feel free to get hold of me any way you can. I'd love to talk to you further.
Fabulous, Larry. And with both of our experience with real estate, and we have different angles in business as well as in real estate. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and have a chat, to be able to help everybody out there to have a different thought, have a different angle on how forming business or going ahead in their future lives can be changed through a business, investing with you or investing with me as well. So thank you very much for your time today.
Oh, no problem. Anytime I can help you out. And here's a classic example here where, the two of us just recently collaborated on a new book for you here, and I'll let you introduce it.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, Larry. Absolutely, I am so excited. It was one of the things that absolutely was on my bucket list to, in my realm as a professional real estate investor, to be able to collaborate on this book with Larry. Real Estate Investing Made Simple was a book that is published and I'm very proud of, to be able to help others gain the background, the understanding in investing in real estate through the examples, to have a guide for just basics of obtaining wealth through real estate.
Exactly. And this book is great in that it starts right from the very simple basics on why real estate is such a good investment. It's a very good introductory book, and anybody who reads it will probably get some benefit out of it, whether you don't know anything about real estate or even if you're a seasoned real estate investor already. You'll probably find a few good nuggets in there that you can dig into and ramp up your own business with.
I agree. And please stay tuned, because at the very end, there's going to be an offer so that you'll be able to receive this Real Estate Investing Made Simple book. So stay tuned. So, Larry, what you and I started talking about at the very top of the webinar was, again, how important and how passionate it is for both of us to be able to get investing dollars working for the people that put that money away. You wouldn't have an employee sitting at the desk all day and not having them work extremely hard for you in your business. So why would you have your investment dollars just sitting around for you, or perhaps in the different funds that they're not getting you a very good return? So why wouldn't you look at other alternatives? And that's what we're going to be talking about on this webinar today.
Exactly, and I think one of the big problems out there is that many people don't realize that there are alternatives to bank mutual funds or GICs, and this is just one of the many alternatives that is out there for people to consider.
Absolutely. Okay, so one of the many times that I've heard people say that they've got RSP investments that they've made with either a financial advisor or with one of the banks, but they're not very happy with the returns that they're getting. They're either afraid to open up a lot of their envelopes that they get from their financial advisor or from the bank, because they know that it's generally not been very good news. So with mutual funds, there's an inherent problem, like I said, a lot of times with getting consistent returns, and there's a lot of reasons why. I just wanted to go over with you today, Larry, a couple of them. So let's get started on them. Like, even with mutual funds, with the big banks and with the financial advisors, they all have these big organizations, big companies that have to spend a lot of money on promotion, on buildings, on pamphlets and flyers. So
Yeah,
even just distributing the costs of these for the mutual funds, it raises expenses, and it certainly has an impact on the investment returns.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's it. It's all about the returns.
Absolutely. And advisors, Larry, I know that that was one of the points that you had brought to my attention, that the advisors and the people that are sitting and selling these funds, they're trained to be salespeople and to abide by the regulations.
Yeah, exactly. You got to realize that anybody that's currently working in the financial services industry really is nothing more than a high-paid, commissioned salesperson. They make money when they convince you to do something, either buy something or sell something. They get a commission on whatever you buy or sell. They don't make any money if the product they sell you goes up. They don't lose any money if the product they sell you goes down. They've already made their money by the fact that you bought that product. So they have no vested interest in your success other than to convince you to buy something more or sell something you've got. So a lot of people don't realize this.
Absolutely. And commission is one of the forms of payment that you alluded to, but there's also, I know of many companies that they have inducements of, you sell so much in this fund and you qualify for a trip to Vegas or wherever the next destination is. So there's trips and money and, promotions to get to that next level. So again, it's not
Exactly.
promotions that they or commissions that they're working for. It's also so that they elevate themselves.
Exactly. Think about all the stories you've heard about used car salesmen. Well, it's all applicable to the financial services industry. Generally on a used car lot, they have meetings every now and then, and the manager comes out and tells them, well, we've got too many Fords on the lot today, so start selling the Fords. And the one who sells the most Fords this week gets a trip to Hawaii. Well, exactly the same thing happens in the financial services. Mutual fund salesmen get told that, okay, this week the flavor of the month is, this fund. Next week it may be another fund. And the salesman who sells the most units in these funds, well, hey, he'll probably get a trip to Hawaii this week. It's exactly the same thing, unfortunately.
Absolutely. So that's one of the inherent problems with mutual funds or with financial advisors. Absolutely. The next one is a perfect example that you and I had talked about or touched on at a different time, Larry, was about how they show returns to the people in that are holding the mutual funds themselves. Can you go into that a little bit for us?
Yeah, exactly. So imagine you've got $100 in a mutual fund account, and the first year that fund loses 50%. That means that your $100 is now only worth $50. Now the second year, it does a bit better. It makes 100% on your money. So now your $50 has gone back up to $100. So after 2 years, you're basically in exactly the same position that you started with. You started with $100, and now after 2 years, you've still got $100. However, that's not how the mutual fund people report that occurrence. What they look at is they say the first year you lost 50%. The second year you made 100%. That means you've netted 50% over 2 years profit, or that fund has averaged a 25% profit over a 2-year period. Yeah, technically it may have profited 25% a year over 2 years, but in your pocket you've got exactly the same amount that you started with. You haven't made a single penny.
And perhaps, Larry, you're further behind if we stick with this scenario, because of course they've taken out their fees. Perhaps there's other costs that have been associated with going in and out of the different funds as well. So
Exactly.
again, you may be
Exactly. Mutual funds have all these other fees. The one fee that everybody's heard of is these management expense ratios, which is what the fund charges to manage all the various operations of the fund. And, It's not an outrageous percentage, but there are also other fees involved. Many funds have what are called front load fees, which are fees that are charged to you when you buy into the fund. A lot of funds have what are called backload fees, which are fees they charge you to leave the fund. Plus, many accounts have account fees associated with the accounts that you actually buy these funds in. And there's all kinds of these hidden bank fees, account fees, and various other fees. And when all is said and done and you total up all these nickel and dime fees, it totals up to a significant amount, anywhere from 6 to 9% a year in fees. That means that your mutual fund has to make between 6 and 9% a year just for you to be breaking even.
Yes.
That's a shame.
That is a shame, and we'll go into that a little bit again in just a few minutes. But also, when you go to the bank or you go into with your financial advisor, you're simply a name on a file. When again, when you said when they start opening up this fund, all you are is a name with a file on it. He doesn't have your best interests at heart. And something else that's happening right now in our economy is the returns on GICs, or guaranteed investment certificates, are absolutely dismal. They're at what, perhaps 1 or 2%. Larry, is that what you would believe the current GICs are getting right now?
Yeah, GICs are abysmal. The banks basically say they'll give you a guaranteed rate of return if you invest massive amounts of money over long periods of time, and they say they're very generous by giving you somewhere between 1 to 2%. Well, in fact, the banks turn around and take all the money that you deposit with them, they pay out 1 to 2% to you, and then they take that money and invest in mortgages. That brings them in anywhere from 4 to 9%. So they're just living on the spread at your expense. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
And unfortunately, the other part of that truth is they get to loan that out about 10 times. So when they have your money, they loan that money out 10 times. It really is a scary thing. So what you had talked to just a few minutes ago, Larry, was the management expense ratio. So can you explain to just to go over that a little bit more on what exactly a management expense ratio is all about?
Basically, that's a fee that the fund charges you for its administration, to pay for its offices, to pay for its salesmen, to pay for any expense that they deem appropriate to put under as an expense for the fund. It's basically a slush fund for the managers.
Right. And in Canada, I understand that we are charged the highest management expense ratios of anywhere in the world. And everybody always says that we're so polite as Canadians, and unfortunately that may be very true and may be reflected in the highest management expense ratios in the whole entire world.
Exactly. And the other part of that too is that the reason people pay these outrageous management expense fees and don't complain about it is, for the most part, they don't know that there's any other alternatives. Mortgage investments, in my opinion, are among the safest out there, and they will beat mutual funds hands down, left, right, and center, time after time after time.
Right. So, yeah, let's go on and tell everybody a little bit more about the RSP mortgages, the reason why we're having our webinar today. So again, I'm just going over this slide, and to get like 1.9% overall after you've taken off your expenses over a 20-year period is like really scary statistics for somebody to be basing their retirement or to have any kind of future standard of living at all. So there's got to be a way better alternative than this.
Exactly.
So something else that I dug up from the internet this week was the banks are taking a lot in the management expense fees, like we had talked about, and Dr. Larry, you had said that again, it's for their infrastructure, for their buildings. So in this article, it says that the Canadian banks made $31.7 billion in profit. So that is just such an atrocious amount of money for something that I hear from a lot of people that they're losing money on their mutual funds, and for the Canadian banks to be making 31.7 billion in profit is it just makes my stomach churn.
Exactly. It's outrageous.
Absolutely. So, what can can we do? Again, we talked about the management expense fees. The banks take those off. The financial advisors take that off. Whether or not you're making money, and I know that hoping that your fund will go up, or what I've heard a lot from mutual funds when I used to hold them is my advisor would say, oh, well, you're in it for the long haul. So it doesn't matter if they go down now. Why don't you put some more in it and you're hoping for them to go up? Well, I'm saying
Exactly.
hoping is not a very good long-term investment strategy.
Exactly. I know people that have years worth of mutual fund statements sitting on their desk unopened because they're scared to open them. And
That,
that's a crying shame.
it,
I
it,
mean, you need to invest in something that gives you good, solid, fixed rates of returns over extended periods of time so that you're not afraid to look at your statements every month.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is generally in the past, the mutual funds have made you very little, or if they have, like you've shown in that past example, that they can go up and then they go down, so that in the long run, what you're basically working for is trying to make up for any loss that you've had. And many other
Exactly.
people have no other experience in with a great deal with any other investments, in the workaday world that they live in, and a lot of these other investments have no track record. So what is the solution? What we want to do is to be able to introduce RSP mortgages as a safe, consistent, hands-off investment for our investors.
Exactly. A comment comes to mind that, I heard recently that, a lot of people have talked to a lot of investors over a lot of different occasions, and the one comment that comes out is nobody that I know of in the investment circles has ever come across anybody that has become financially free solely by investing in mutual funds. It just does not work.
Oh, yes. That is so true. I have heard that as well, and I have been at seminars where they've asked for any hands, that's how they know of somebody that's become financially free or wealthy through mutual funds, and I have yet to hear of anybody that has said that that's, their ticket to wealth. So with
Exactly.
let's introduce the concept of mortgage investing. It's an easy, hands off investing method. It provides safe, consistent monthly returns to the investor. And what you can do is for monies to invest, your investment dollars can be either from a cash investment, or all of registered funds are also available for this form of investment. So they can be whatever kind of RSPs. They can be TFSAs, LIRAs, RIFs. They can also be RESPs. So they can also be obtaining money that's sitting inside of a line of credit that perhaps is just sitting there and not working for them. So this provides a very safe way to invest that money for themselves and to get their money working for them.
Exactly. And I just want to do one little back step here and basically explain exactly what a mortgage investment is. So basically, everybody knows that when you buy a piece of property, you have to go to a bank and get a mortgage. And the bank gives you money to buy the property. Well, that's how banks invest. They provide mortgages to people that are looking to buy property. Well, they do that because it's safe, secure, and it's a very good investment, and they get good, solid rates of return from it. Well, the big secret that the banks don't want everybody to know about is that you don't have to be a bank to give money to invest in mortgages. Individuals can do exactly the same thing that a bank does. For example, if I'm going out and buying a piece of property and I need a mortgage on it, well, I can go to a bank and get that mortgage, or I can go to somebody I know that has the available cash and say, hey, do you want to play the bank for me? You provide me a mortgage for buying this property, and in return, you'll get a nice, safe, secure, fixed rate of return over an extended period of time for as long as we keep that mortgage in place. It's one of the big secrets out there that financial advisors and banks do not want you to know about, simply because if average people start investing in mortgage investments, the banks will become redundant and they will end up losing business because of it. And that's never going to happen as far as the banks are concerned. So they're never going to recommend this type of investment to anybody at any time.
Absolutely. They don't want to be cutting into their $31.7 billion in profit. So exactly what you've said, Larry, it's exactly the same as you becoming the bank. And that's how the bank has been providing mortgages for years and years and has been the mainstay of their business. So why wouldn't you as an investor want to take advantage of that very cash flowing opportunity to be able to be the bank, to be able to put a mortgage on a piece of property so that you can be receiving the same safe, consistent returns that are secured by a piece of real estate, the same as a bank?
Exactly. You know, if a person has $50,000, they can put that in a GIC and get 1% a year. They can put it in mutual funds and maybe break even if they're lucky. Or they can invest that $50,000 into a private mortgage and receive 4 to 6% a year fixed rate of returns for up to 5 years if you go for a 5-year mortgage.
Exactly. So we've gone over a lot of the pros of this kind of investing, and some of the cons. Are there any cons that you can think of right now?
Well, the one major con is that your money is tied up for however long the mortgage is, which means if you go for a 3-year mortgage, your money's tied up for 3 years. You really don't have access to it. A lot of people argue that one of the major cons is, well, what happens if the person I give the mortgage to stops paying the mortgage? Well, because it's a mortgage, you do exactly what the bank would do. If you stop paying money to your bank mortgage, the bank would foreclose upon you and take your home away. Well, that's exactly what you as an investor would do if the person you give the mortgage to stops paying on the mortgage. You would basically foreclose on the property and it would become yours. So not only would you get back the money you invested as the mortgage, but you would also then get back all the equity that's currently sitting in that property over and above the amount that you have on the mortgage. So realistically, a foreclosure on a private mortgage almost never occurs, because if it does occur, the owner of that property will be losing all of their equity in that property, and they're going to do anything they can to not allow that to happen.
Absolutely. And nothing like that would ever happen on a mutual fund. A mutual fund can, in theory, go to zero and you would be out all of your money. Whereas with this, you do have a recourse in the event that the payments do stop coming.
Exactly. And I invest in mortgages myself, personally, and except I look at a default where the mortgage holder stops paying the mortgage. I actually look at that as the best result I could ever obtain, because then I get to go in and foreclose on the property and take it back and take it over, which for me is far, far more profitable than the small 6% return I get on the mortgage.
There you go. But I don't expect that happens very often at all.
Exactly. In all of my experience in investing in mortgages, that event is so rare that I've actually never had that happen.
There you go. So let's this next fellow here up on our screen is, he talks about compound interest. So again, instead of going up and down and getting those fluctuating returns, or going backwards on your mutual funds right now, or your money where it's simply parked and not doing a lot for you, Mr. Einstein here has talked about compound interest, on how it grows, and how it certainly is the eighth wonder of the world. So understanding compound interest, and it continues to grow for you, certainly is very important.
And the whole key to that is having it consistent over an extended period of time. And that's where mortgages are the top end, and that's what occurs in mortgages, and that is not what occurs in many other forms of investment.
Absolutely. So I'm just thinking in the investor's head right now, and saying, well, isn't it a very difficult thing to do? Wouldn't I, like, where do I get started? I don't know anything about mortgages or how to put this together. So just to go over a couple of the ideas of just how safe and how simple all of this is, just to be able to take action, to let me know that this is something that you're interested in. I do all of the work for you. You don't ever have any calls from any tenants. There's nothing like that. It's all simply a hands-off investment for you. You simply, you and I set up an agreement. The mortgage gets registered on a piece of land, and you start collecting the monthly returns that gets deposited automatically into your account. So it's as simple as that. There's nothing else that the investor needs to do.
Exactly. It's a nice, simple process that doesn't take very long, and once it's done, you don't need to worry about it again till the mortgage comes due, whether it be in 3 years or 5 years down the road.
Exactly. So the only other qualifying is on that, there is an opportunity that's available that I'll talk to in just a few minutes, that's coming up. But other than limited quantities on having the placement of mortgages, and for this opportunity being limited, there is nothing else that the investor needs to be able to know before going ahead.
Yeah, they just need to decide for themselves whether or not this is the type of investment they're interested in. If it is, well, then the next step is to talk to you and find out some more information about it, and have you walk them through the process.
Absolutely. So talking about walking through the process, let's just go over the very simple steps. And that is, yes, we would absolutely sit down, and I would make sure that all of your questions are answered, so that you understand the process fully. Then there's something called a self-directed account gets opened with your trustee, and that would be Olympia Trust or Pacific Western. And the trustee is set up so that they're protecting your interest in this. They make sure that the terms of the mortgage are correct, that everything is in place and is registered for you. They're acting for you. Next, we would instruct the fund manager to transfer where your RSP, or to put the cash into your account that you've opened up with either, like I said before, Olympia Trust or Pacific Western. All of the terms of the mortgage, that is prepared by a lawyer that acts on your behalf, that I pay for all of the expenses. So there's no other expenses that other than opening up the trustee account, which is very similar to having a bank account. It's in your name, and that's where your monthly payments are going to be going into. But all of the costs for the preparing of the mortgage and the registration and getting it in place are all paid for by me. And then once that the mortgage is registered on the title, that's the only thing that happens, is payments automatically go into your account this month, next month. It just continues for the term of the mortgage that we've agreed on.
Exactly. It's a very simple process.
It absolutely is a very simple process. So the solution to be able to, or one solution to be able to make your money work as hard as you do, to be able to invest cash, like we said, that may be not getting you very good returns in GICs, or you have some money available that is investment dollars in a HELOC or a power line or something similar to that. Or you simply want to be able to get those RSPs and mutual funds working for you, instead of like what Dr. Larry had said a while before, that you get these statements every month, but you don't even want to open up the envelopes. So why would you want to live in a world where you've got other options other than being afraid to open up your investment statements every month? So all of these.
Exactly. The nice thing about mortgage investing is that you've got the nice fixed rate of return, so you know beforehand exactly how much money is going to be deposited into your account every month on a monthly basis for the entire term of that mortgage. Unlike a mutual fund, which varies from month to month as to what your returns are actually going to be, if you're actually going to get any, or if your account's going to end up going down in value. With the mortgages, you know what the base value of the mortgage is. That's always going to be there, and you know what your annual rate of return is going to be, and that's always going to be there. To me, there's no there's no comparison between the two different forms of investing, and I would take the mortgage investment hands down anytime over any other form.
Absolutely. So it becomes a safe, solid, secure return that's paid every month into your account. Like you said, you know at the end of the term, the 3 to 5 year term, of how much money and interest you're going to be collecting on that account. There's no guessing. You will know at the end of the term what that amount's going to be. And to beat that, there's no fees that are charged by me in any way. So there's no management expense fees that get taken out of your interest payments all of the time. So again, it's very easy for you to calculate and to know at the end of that term how much money you're going to be having and what kind of retirement living you're going to be able to be expecting. So what I'd like to introduce is exactly what an RSP mortgage would look like. And I have, for an example, this is an acreage property that I have. It's located in Sherwood Park, and I believe that this one may already be filled, but I'm just using it as an example. So the County of Strathcona has assessed the value of this property on the tax assessment at $613,000. There is a first mortgage that's registered on this property for $413,000. So the equity, so that's the difference between the value that the county has assessed at 613 less the first mortgage. So the equity is, there's $200,000 equity in this home presently.
Exactly. So with that $200,000 equity, it's basically dead equity. That it's in the value of the home, but it's unaccessible. So with standard practices in the mortgage industry, you know, you could borrow up to 85% of what's called the loan to the value. So that means that you could now put an additional $108,000 second mortgage on that property, and that would mean that there would be a total of approximately $521,000 of mortgages in place, leaving approximately $92,000 of equity still in the property. So an investor that has $108,000 would say, hey, I want to place a mortgage on this property with you. I'll give you the $108,000. You give me a second mortgage on the property at whatever fixed interest rates you choose and for however long you want to do it for. So then, worst case scenario, as we mentioned, is that if the mortgage payments don't get paid, well, the investor would have to foreclose on the property, which means for his $108,000 that he put into the property, he would then foreclose on the property and get a property worth $613,000 with only $521,000 of financing in place. He would be getting an additional $92,000 of equity in his pocket just by doing this deal and having to foreclose on the property.
Wow.
So he would be almost doubling his money if that occurred. That's why you never see foreclosures in this type of investing, because there is no way the owner of the property is going to give up $92,000 of equity.
Right. No, and exactly. So that's why this scenario works so well is
Exactly.
the owner of the property wants to continue to make the payments to you. You, as an investor that's not getting very much money or a consistent return on your money, you're seeing that in the safe, consistent investment that you're getting by way of this scenario.
Exactly. And, that's why it works out to be one of the safest forms of investment out there.
Absolutely. So here's another example of what another RSP investment mortgage would look like.
Exactly. And in this case, you've got a little bit smaller property, total value, assessed value by the city at approximately $370,000, $256,000 first mortgage on title, meaning that you've got approximately $114,000 of equity in the home. That's a lot of equity. So now if you go to refinance up to the 85% level, that means you could place a second mortgage on that property for approximately $58,000, leaving approximately an extra $50,000 of equity still in the property.
Absolutely. So that's why we keep harping on that it's safe, consistent returns, is because it does work as a scenario for everybody. And taking out a mortgage or in essential, this is a refinance of this property by way of a second mortgage. So it's something that the banks do all of the time. We're just offering you this opportunity for you to become the bank.
Exactly. And the other point, too, is that this is now a secured investment, which means that you have the documents registered on the title of the property. It's secured. When you invest in a mutual fund, there's no security. There's nothing that you can do if the investment loses money. You're a fish out of water at that point.
Absolutely.
Which is the way the banks want you to be.
Absolutely. So why wouldn't you want to become the bank? So here is another picture of our book that we co-wrote together. What I know that you may have some questions with regards to how all of this is set up, or you simply want to find out how quickly you can get your RSP money registered into something like this so that you can start collecting the safe monthly returns on a second mortgage. So there, I am offering currently to be able to sit down and so that I can answer any of your questions. Uh, Providing a complimentary copy of my book, which is a $49 value. Let's give me a call at 587-318-6161. We'll set up a time, and I certainly will bring a copy of your book with me at the time that we set up, or if you prefer, there is my email address of klongrentals@gmail.com. You can also visit my website, or if you simply just want to be able to find out some more and have the opportunity to read Real Estate Investing Made Simple, which also has a couple of places in a couple of chapters where we do talk about investing through RSP mortgages. There's also Real Estate Investing Made Simple.ca. You can order a copy of the book. But I encourage you to give me a call or to email me if that's more convenient. Let's sit down and I'll certainly go through this scenario through everything of the webinar with you again so that we have an opportunity to answer any questions that you have on mortgages, doing RSP mortgages. So again, I encourage you to contact me today either by phone or through the email. Let's sit down. I would love to be able to answer all of your questions to make it crystal clear before you can make your decision to be able to go forward with this. And I just want to end with a thank you to Dr. Larry for joining me on the webinar this afternoon. And
you're very welcome.
I just want to end with a quote from Albert Einstein himself. is just don't continue on your current path. If you continue to do the same thing over and over again, you'll get the same results. So that's why I just encourage you to contact me today so that you can get that information, so that you can start changing the results for a better, more prosperous tomorrow. So thank you again, Dr. Larry, for joining me on the webinar this afternoon. Any closing?
Oh, thanks for having me. And anybody that wants to find out more information, I strongly suggest that they give you a call and sit down for coffee and learn all about private mortgages and how they can become part of it and turn their investment lives around.
Thank you very much. I so appreciate your assistance this afternoon, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.